Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
A huge match made for next week. Kurt's mystery text will be revealed. And yes, Roman Reigns isn't a heel. I am Luke Owen, and this is the 10th of July edition of Monday Night Raw in about 4 minutes. Big Cass came out to thunderous boos and casshole chants to gloat about his squash victory over Enzo Amore at Great Balls of Fire. This was a pretty good promo, and Cass drew great heat from the crowd, saying he would one day become Universal Champion and that he was 7 foot tall and no one else was. Unsurprisingly, this brought out the Big Show, who attacked Cass and sent him packing, presumably setting up a Summerslam encounter. This feud wasn't important enough to be on the pay-per-view, but it did make for a pretty fun TV match. There was a lot of back and forth action, with Samson working over the arm that kept Balor out for most of last year. Balor won decisively with the coup de grace, and this was played off like the end of the feud. Matt and Jeff were at their most broken in their opening promo, and Gal Anderson, particularly Carl Anderson, were excellent in calling them nerds and a simple nostalgia act. The match itself was a really good TV outing with a great closing sequence, and Gal Anderson picked up the victory following a magic killer. After the match, a returning Revival came out and attacked the Hardys. There were a lot of references to Matt being hit in the head both in the match and the angle, which some fans might think is delightful. The Miz held an awards ceremony for himself, Maurice, and the Miztourage, with Axel and Bo both winning Best Supporting Actor, Maurice winning Best Leading Lady, and the IC Champ winning Best Male. This was a wonderful segment, and everyone played their part perfectly, particularly the supporting characters, with Bo and Axel both acting shocked and surprised to win, and Maurice even cried when her name was announced. But there was a downside, because who came out to attack The Miz but Dean Bloody Ambrose? This feud started on SmackDown Live last December, and like the cleaning of a house, will seemingly never end. The one positive is that Dean's former Shield brother Seth Rollins ran down to save Ambrose from being beaten down, which freshened up this stale feud. This was another really good match, and both pairings work really well together. There were a lot of interactions to further the Alexa-Sasha feud. Nia Jax looked incredibly imposing, and guess what? Bayley got a pinfall! While there were teasers for a Banks v Bliss rematch, we could be setting ourselves up for a fatal 4-way at SummerSlam. In another bout WWE felt wasn't good enough to be on pay-per-view, the feud between Goldust and R-Truth finally led to a match after several months of build. The crowd, who had been insanely hot all night, suddenly hit their second-hour drowsiness and was surprisingly quiet for this outing, despite some solid in-ring work. This was given more time than you'd think, and the two treated it like a pay-per-view match, with Goldie kicking out of R-Truth's scissors kick, but Goldust eventually picked up the win in what felt like the end of the feud. Two big questions coming out of Great Balls of Fire were whether Roman Reigns would fully turn heel and how the company would treat Samoa Joe following his loss to Brock Lesnar. Kurt Angle brought Lesnar down to the ring to talk about the main event of SummerSlam when Reigns interrupted and cut, you guessed it, a babyface promo. Now, credit where credit is due. This was a great babyface promo, and Roman Reigns looked like a total badass, but let's not forget attempted vehicular manslaughter. Joe then came out to say he wanted a rematch with Lesnar, and everyone got into a heated argument. This was fantastic, phenomenal television. It didn't feel scripted, it felt real, which is something Raw often lacks. Everyone looked great, and the intensity from all three guys was incredible. Angle set a match between Reigns and Joe for next week, where the winner would become the #1 contender to the Universal Championship. Corey Graves got up from his announcer's desk after receiving another text message and went backstage to meet with Kurt Angle. Next week, Angle is going public with the subject of these text messages, and mentioned he could lose his career, his job, and his family over it. Hopefully soon I'll find out what's in Ollie's Money in the Bank lunchbox. Oh, it's locked. The top of the third-hour death spot went to the Cruiserweights once again this week, as the never-ending feud between Cedric Alexander and Noam Dar joined Akira Tozawa and the King of the Cruiserweights. This was another really fun match, and all four men tried really hard to get the tired crowd into it. They didn't really succeed, but Tozawa got some poetic justice by kicking Neville in his Great Balls of Fire and pinned the champion. Noam Dar and Cedric Alexander will finish off their feud finally tomorrow show on 205 Live. Seth and Bray didn't have a great match of the pay-per-view, but this was a much better follow-up. It was a really good match, and it only got better the longer it went. Wyatt once again went after Seth's injured eye and then hit his sister Abigail for yet another victory. After the match, Bray disappeared and The Miz and his Miztourage beat down Seth until Dean made the save with the chair. But then, the camera cut to the back with Kurt Angle on the phone with someone who is coming to Raw next week to reveal themselves, someone who Kurt says he loves. It's Claire Lynch. That's an obscure TNA joke. So that was this week's Raw in about 4 minutes. Here's the usual Raw ratings rundown in awe, core, average, poor, and bore. I'll give my rating in a moment, but first vote in the poll above my head with what you thought of the show. Usually the best episodes of Raw or SmackDown come after a WrestleMania or a draft or the Superstar Shakeup, because those are the ones that feel fresh and unique. The other ones are reset episodes, where storylines are dropped so new ones can be put in place. Usually those episodes feel chaotic and unpredictable. This week's Raw was none of those things. It was coming off a pay-per-view, but it was a B pay-per-view. And yet, this might be the best pure episode of Monday Night Raw of 2017. It had everything. Good talking, great matches, excellent teasers for next week. It didn't even drag going into its third hour. The only negative on the show is that The Miz and Dean Bloody Ambrose are still feuding, but even then, the addition of Seth Rollins shakes that up. Now, there is some discussion to be had about whether this elevates The Miz or demotes Seth, especially considering Seth has lost twice to Bray Wyatt in 24 hours. But it does make the usually mid-card IC title seem a lot bigger, so there are some positives. And that's even before I get into the great setup for next week. We've got a #1 contenders match coming off a fabulous in-ring segment, and the revelation of Kurt's secret text. I don't say this very often, but I cannot wait for next week's show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this week's Raw was in awe. Is Kevin Owens really injured? And what did I think of WWE's Great Balls of Fire? Click the videos to the left to find out more. Press subscribe and support WrestleTalk on Patreon. I have been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.